What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ComicsCorner. Y'all already know what the time it is. It's Saturday. The Geass episode dropped yesterday, so let's get into episode 2. It's called Ice Wall. Spoilers, if you don't want to be spoiled for what's happening in these episodes, please do not watch past this point. And if you really like what I'm doing, like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to go through the whole series along with some other stuff that I got going on. But let's get into it. So, when we're talking about this episode, it opened up with the 7 shining stars, and they was getting mopped up by the Britannians, by the Neo-Britannian Empire. They got like some heat-seeking missiles. They tried to like do like a kamikaze with just a nightmare, and then the missiles just went around it and blew them boys about the sky. I was hurt. I was actually hurt for them. Like, it really bothered me, but they were trying to set free their head guy. His name is Kensai Kuroto. And they failed the first time, but obviously they've already enlisted the help of Roze and Ash, right? And at the beginning, you kind of see like Roze and Ash interact a little bit interestingly, right? Like, there's this moment where it seems like Ash is doting on Roze more like a lover than like, you know what I'm saying, a brother. It's a little strange to me, and I admit maybe I'm just looking at it a little strange, but that's what I saw when I looked at it. I watched the episode twice just so I could, you know what I'm saying, be sure. But anyway, they got to break into this stronghold, and things like this make me feel. So I had a commenter on TikTok, and they made a point. They were saying that the character of Sakuya seems very Lelouch-esque. And at first I was like, nah, she's not really a carbon copy. But when you see the way that her strategy plays out and the things that they chose to do within this episode, it's very reminiscent of a strong moment in R2. But I'll get back into that in just a second. So they devised this plan where they got to use a big rocket, shoot it, you know what I'm saying? And mind you, I think a lot of these events are happening really fast. Like, everything is so rapid, and it might be because they adapted it from a movie, and so they don't have necessarily the time to develop and flesh out things the way they would like to. Like, they wanted me to care about Kuroto, and I just couldn't find it in me to really give a freak, right? Anyway, so they do the plan. Ash and Roze argue about whether or not Roze gonna ride with Ash. It obviously folds. Roze passed out on the, you know, all the G-Force stuff. All that stuff was good to me. I thought it was cool, and it showed a dynamic. One of my questions got answered, by the way. So let's continue. They get in there. Roze goes on his/her little side quest mission, and I think this is where I think the show needs to flesh out some things, because how does Roze just get around? And we just assume that it's because Geass, you know, because we have seen the use of Geass at this point, but we don't really understand it fully. At first I thought it worked like Big Mom's Devil Fruit ability, but now I'm thinking it's something different. This is why. The command that was used in this episode was just a command. It wasn't like either do this or something else. And so I'm not sure if it's becoming more similar to absolute submission or if it's not. Another thing that's apparent is that other people don't really know about this ability, but I'll get back into that in a second. Let's go over to the Neo-Britannian side. So we meet Arnold Arnold Renk, and Arnold is in charge of this facility. He's holding old lady captive, Sakura, which is Sakuya, holding her captive, and he's obviously in charge of making sure she don't get out. He's also concerned about the rebels, and so he takes particular time to think about the nameless mercenaries and whether or not they are helping the rebels or what's going on, because obviously he's unsure as to what's taking place. So they obviously devise a plan. After Ash and Roze get everybody inside, especially Haruka. I didn't know her name before, but she was running around looking like Colin today, so I figured I had to know what your name was, baby. I ain't gonna lie. So They don't understand how Rose and Ash keep getting into places and doing stuff so successfully. But obviously we do. We understand that it's Geass. Rose gets to talk to Sakura, shows herself, and they exchange the type of endearment that almost seems like lovers as well. It was a little strange to me today, and I wasn't sure if I was just reaching and I was seeing their endearment more romantically than I should have, but that's how it appeared. Sakura doesn't know about Sakuya's Geass. Let me tell you why. When the guy came in the room while they was talking, Sakura got scared, and Sakuya's word choice was, "Don't worry, this is my friend." But we can see the Geass eyes on him, so we know they not friends at all, right? So this is when it starts to get really, how do I say, Code Geass R2-ish, right? So if you remember Code Geass R2, you remember that there's a scene where Lelouch is attempting to take Nunnally. It's episode 6. Don't ask me why I remember episode 6 of R2. And that's when Suzaku shows up and stops them. Which leads me into my highlight for this episode. Catherine, I don't know how to say your last name. Catherine Sabathra. Sabathra? Something like that. First of all, you're gorgeous. Okay? You hear me? You got me. I was laughing at her when I saw the color of the White Queen. Probably pronounced a little differently, but she was sitting in the nightmare, and as she was taking her selfie with her feet up, with her legs up, but the nightmare was doing the same thing, and I thought it was hilarious. It's like, okay, I see what y'all are doing here. But anyway, she shows up and she doing all the fighting like she's supposed to, and she takes the girl back. She takes her back. She takes Sakura back. And it leads into that scene where they're like yelling, like, "No, please," right? And it literally looks exactly like the scene where Lelouch felt like he got rejected. The difference is Sakuya's takeaway is, "I'll never fail again," right? After this, Sakuya gets back in position and helps Ash and the 7 Shining Stars get back in position to take out the Britannians, which leads us into a fight between Arnold and Ash. And Arnold recognizes Ash's fighting style. We don't know why. We have no clue. We just see a quick flashback to when they was fighting before, and he calls him by name. He says, "Is that you, Ash Phoenix?" And he said, "It's just me and you, Arnold." And then, they get into the mix, and this is another place where I felt like that it was rushed, because after after Ash switches, styles in the nightmares, he defeats Arnold pretty quickly. And I believe Arnold could have been, an antagonist for the long haul, especially with him showing to have known something about Ash that we ourselves don't know, right? I'm getting into more spoiler territory. So they ended up saving Kensei Kuroto, after which they escape. They're having a little party from, when Ash killed old boy. Rose and Ash are talking about what they accomplished, and then Rose says, "Hey, Ash, who is the most important person to you?" And Ash starts having like an aneurysm. He's like, you, brother. But that's when we see Sakuya putting the Geass on Ash, and I was like, "Whoa!" And then you see his eyes, so he's like bugging out. You like, "Oh, she put the Geass on him," right? So you see that, you find out that he's been Geassed, right? And then Ash walks away and says, "Hey, I'm getting kind of cold outside. I gotta go take a chill." He's like, "All right." And we see Rose's inner thoughts saying, "After all this is done and everything is over, then I'm gonna kill you and get revenge because you killed my daddy." And that's where the episode ends. So I think they've done a good job at giving us cliffhangers. Again, I feel like it is being very repetitive. But I do think there are some shining moments that are clearly different from the original Code Geass series. That being the way that some of the battles are fought. I just want to say this. If Colin or Suzaku had claim to that nightmare that they got, it's raps. But yeah, no. All this to say, I hope that they diverge and make this something that doesn't even look exactly like, because right now it's looking like I'm taking parts of this and it's just looking like it. I'm not gonna lie. And I had this conversation in my last video with somebody, and they were just adamant that we haven't seen the end of the series. I'm not saying that I don't like the series, but what I'm saying is I feel like with you rehashing such strong plot points, it is an attempt to lean on the original source material and give people something familiar instead of being confident in your pen to write something different. And that's what I was expecting. I wanted to see something very different. Now, I will say that people saying Sakuya is just like Lelouch, she's very different. Even the way that she introduced herself to Kensai, she already knew him, but I think y'all get what I'm trying to say. This whole mission felt like when they tried to save Kyoshiro Todo. That's what it felt like. It felt like they were saving Todo, and Todo fought Suzaku at the end. That it's very different. I want to preface it by that, but those are my initial thoughts right now, and I'm predicting that maybe by episode like 5 or 6, Ash will like snap out of it a little bit, because we need a little spice in the mix. You know what I'm saying? But let me know what you guys think. I have been Comics Corner, and I'll see you guys in the next video.